Good morning, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. It's indeed an honor and humbling for me to be called upon to take the stage with distinguished speakers with renowned credentials. I am mindful that I was not called upon to present this paper as one of the speakers, considering my education background, but rather because of my humble organization I took from ground zero to an enviable position. So my presentation is not so much about intellectual talk, but really about discussing the application of corporate governance, without which what people seem to look at today to be a conscientious organization, what we consider Nigeria, modest conglomerate, could not have been possible. So we took a business from ground zero that is not properly structured or not organized, or from nothing, with mere 200 naira, less than $400 in 1976, to an enviably possible by playing by the role and following the principle of corporate governance. There's no way it could have happened. So, the lessons I believe the conveners of this event would like to learn from me is the role good corporate governance played in building an ecosystem for sustainable entrepreneurship in achieving the goal. Building an ecosystem for sustainable entrepreneurship, the role of good governance. I would like to thank the conveners of this event for inviting me to share insight on the role of good corporate governance in building an ecosystem for sustainable entrepreneurship. Before we get into the discussion, it will be important to have a clear answer to the question, what does it mean to be an entrepreneur? An entrepreneur can be defined as someone who exercises initiative by organizing a venture to take benefit from an opportunity. And as the discussion makes and decision making, deciding what and how of how much or service he produces. An entrepreneur can also be defined as one who undertakes innovations, finance, business acumen, and an effort to transform innovation into economic goals. This may result in a new organization or be part of the revitalizing matured organization in response to perceived opportunity. The most obvious form of entrepreneurship is that of starting new business. However, in the recent time, it has been extended to include political, it has also expanded to include political form of entrepreneurship activity. But let's not dwell on that. What makes the difference in a case like myself was that I was a young man that worked for his uncle for 5.5 years or close to 6 years with not structured organization, just typical trading. But while I was working for my uncle, part of the things that people went to school to learn how to run business were questions that were bubbling in my heart. How to do things better? Because when we talk about an entrepreneur being somebody who can take innovation to expand what he's doing, when you hear the word innovation, it sounds like something far-fetched. It sounds like something extraordinary. It's just simply looking at from the way it has been done. While I was working on
studying this system, I noticed clearly that this system is starting what we call initiative, micromanage people, never give them opportunity to fully actualize themselves. When it import goods, you will cut off the head, cut off the unit prices of the goods, so that you don't know who ship the goods, you don't know at what prices are arriving. So, I just set the price for you, 500 naira, 200 naira, 300 naira. You don't know whether there's 20% markup there, you don't know whether there's 15%, you don't know whether there's 7%. I keep on telling myself, when I start my own business, I will not do it like this. Because this will not give people the opportunity to really bring out their ingenuity. So when we talk about innovation, I want you to understand that innovation is not invention, it's not complicated language, it's about seeing
how better to do things from what other people have been doing it before. How to improve in things other people have done. So to properly apply corporate governance, an individual should understand the trend of emerging technologies and impact them on the market and customer demands, regulatory issues, and new risks which these new technologies bring. They must constantly conduct skill and competence assessment for them to ensure they possess the capacity to deliver on the objectives on the going concern basis. Constant innovation.
The future of business is being constantly rewritten as we speak. To stay ahead, small business must master creative thinking, agile execution, adapt fast moving and scale taking. Prepare fire innovation by leveraging the high capacity of large organizations and
incorporation the best practice of small ones. An entrepreneur can create a healthy, sustainable environment that will impact on this best plan. But I have done a paper that we can speak through so that you can appreciate where are we coming from. How is it possible? By what means could it be that a young man with third-grade education could create an institution
today in Nigeria model that thrives not only
in Nigeria, but we do business today in Ghana, Gabon, Cote d'Ivoire, Sierra Leone, and recently acquired a company in Japan. Successful people play by the same rule. There's no way it could be possible by doing things in my village form of doing it if I do not leverage on the understanding of playing by the role.
Allow corporate governance to drive this organization and submit myself to superior listening and follow the principles that have been laid before now. And this
organization found it very difficult to be able to build an institution and create an organization that will not only, play its role, but outlive them. And then I will be willing to take your questions.
Is with a very good definition of the meaning of entrepreneurship. And what you said with regards to governance, I think the fulcrum for your most commendable success. Can you briefly touch on the key challenges that have been faced by entrepreneurs in Nigeria, and do you think and internal corporate governance is a key challenge. Okay, frankly speaking, if you ask me where the role of corporate governance in starting up a little organization, I will simply say, if I started like zero from like the way I started, that should not be an issue, because there was a time I was the managing and managing director of my company, the backward and forwarding agent, the accountant general, the research manager, the sales manager. Because in 200 naira, the first question is, who will you pay salary? You need to pay yourself. So you need to take off at that level. But the truth is that if you are going somewhere, it must be clear in your mind that this is a prerequisite. And where your skill lies of being a true entrepreneur is the ability to make that corner and come. Somebody has asked me, at what point in your business will you do that? I told him it's not written anywhere. You need to, work with your instinct. First is when you have been able to build enough capital, because nobody is coming to help you. You can't hire people from bank or different organizations to say, please come and help me. You need to be willing to pay me. If you can find the cash where you can begin to attract the best friend. And the second thing is that you must agree with yourself that you are going somewhere. And if you are going somewhere, it must be clear in your mind that you need the right kind of people who possess this requirement to be able to help you structure in the place. Therefore, you must not be egoistic. That's number one. If your ego is what moves you, you can never have proper corporate governance in your organization, because you must submit to the rule yourself. When you get those experts, you share as the core entrepreneur, the real job you have is to share the fire burning inside of you to these best people that you have brought together to help you take the organization to where you want to go. And these are experts who want you to, not micromanage them, set the rule and let them play in it. You submit yourself to the same rule. Agree what the project will be, be transparent in everything you are doing, including account transparency. A lot of self-made people always believe we can save more money by not opening up, getting the best of the best in their organization. Because Charles could not have been where he is today if those things matter to us. That today we are audited by S & Young. They've been with us for the last 10 years and we are moving to other higher. So many people shot themselves on the leg by not willing to follow this rule, where you are willing to play by the rule, by trying to shrink back and cut corners, you will not be able to go. So corporate governance is about holding yourself accountable, about believing that by following this laid down principle, you will ultimately be able to take this organization to where people should take it serious and be able to compete in a structured manner that can help you build an organization. I don't know if I'm answering the question, but let me try to make it a little bit short. In simple words, the self-made people find it very hard, especially people with results, to submit themselves and believe that following the rule of corporate governance will take them to where they want to be. But I will tell you, you will earn money, have a house in Ajebule or even in Ikoyi, drive BMW or Rolls Royce, but you will never have an institution or an organization if you fail to play by the rule of corporate governance.
Excellent. Thank you very, very much for I told you that this would be the best, plenary session. I'm sure you are agreeing. I'm sure, Lucy, you come second, not. So, I mean, I met a man came for a program in LBS recently, and he gave me his card. And on his card, I saw president, founder, CEO, chief operating officer on one card. So I now asked him, how long have you been running this organization? He told me 25 years. And I said, are you able to do all these things together? He told me that he suffered to start this organization, and it was from his sweat. So he has to be sure that everything is going well.
Yes, sir.
But interestingly, it's the same thing that Dr. Maduka did when he started. That he was accountant, CEO, everything. So my question to you, Dr. Maduka, is when did you listen to the council to start introducing advisory board, having a full board, delegating other authorities to people by having maybe CFO, CEO, COO, as the case may be? And what are the benefits of good corporate governance? What has it been to your organization?
Very simple. Today, we work with great institutions like BMW, Rolls-Royce, Jaguar Land Rover, Ford Motor Company, first-class institutions of the world. Just imagine, would they have ever talked to me if I continue with that trader mentality of owning half of Lagos, but there's no structure, no system, no process in organization? So it all starts with the visionary. Where does he really want to be? And that's one of the reasons why I said that quite a number of people shot themselves on the leg, because refusing to play by the rule, you think you are saving money, you think you are doing something better, but it's like a man who wants to run and take his two hands and tie at the back. How far can you run? Your body needs to move and swing. I started that same way. Everything you have in that paper, I did. But it was clear in my mind that if I need to go far, it wasn't somebody advising me. I worked for my uncle, and I knew how not to run the business the way they run it. And that's one of the things when we talk about innovation. Like I said, everywhere you have been in life, in all honesty, it's a school. It's about whether you have the mental attitude to learn. We are in a school now. For a lot of people, this is not a school. No, you need to learn. So having worked for my uncle, I knew how his business would have grown. The industry that gave back to me is this industry where in the first 7 years, the man grew up and become a champion. But by the 8th year, when he settled his first boy, the man is going down, and you never get to hear about him anymore. The same thing will repeat from the boy who took over from his boss. He grows up. By the time he settled his first boy, he starts going down, because they are not willing or understand to follow this rule. So when we started this business, I said, look, this is good model. How I wish the man who started this, at the time my boss was giving me 200 naira. I said, how I wish he would have told me I own 5% of the company and give me authority to run that company for him. So we could put system and processes to grow. He would have still be the majority shareholder, and all of us would benefit. But he gave me small capital. But when I started building up, I knew clearly that if I need to be where I want to be, change this industry that gave back to me, I have to be innovative. When money starts coming, I've said it before, I start hiring people not still at the level of the quality of staff we have today. Then was that if you have gone to school and you can, add up, you enter a cage and you are an accountant. So, You are an accountant. That's it. You go. But we need to get to another level. When we really made the move that changed was when I felt, when people are actually thinking, those people that start with me actually believe I have arrived and this is the way to settle. But this is when now I got experts. We hired KPMG for them to come to our organization, and they mentioned so much money they are going to be paid. Wow. It was like, do I really need these people, or do I have this as, do I really take this first as my profit? But because I was determined to go somewhere, and they really have a discussion with me and find out where I wanted to go and shared with me what I need to do to get there. It was difficult. But this is how to make a change. If you don't make that change, you will not make the quantum leap that you require to do. So I had to call this guy who started with me. Everybody who run around me, whatever I do, they endorse it, you know, one-man ranger champion. And everybody like everything I'm doing. Whatever I say is thus says the Lord. Nobody question my thought. But I want to create an organization where people need to challenge me, and so for me to invalidate the objections I have, where best brain can thrive. So I called them, I said, look, something is going to happen. We are bringing a consultant into this company, and I will want you to think about what the consequences will be. If they come and interview you and felt you are not good, you will leave. All we will pay you is your entitlement based on what we agree. But if you volunteer to leave, we will pay you 2 years of your annual salary at the same time so that you can start your own business. You will be one of our distributors. Because this is the most difficult thing for one-man organization to do. This cost me over 400 million naira about 40 years ago. It was a big weight, but I knew I had to make this turn if I'm going to go places in the business. Actually, quite a number of them felt excited and threw in towel. But there are some people we think contribute very much. We say, this thing we're talking about has nothing to do with you. You are not among the people we are talking about. But that was how I was able to ward off quite a number of the people and then start bringing in the expert that we require that will help us take the business to another level. What I really brought to table was my dogged determination and core competence of parts of internal combustion engine. Because that was in university I went. So, and if anybody don't give me credit, I graduated with distinction in that university. But to take it to a level where people will take it serious, require these actions. That's when we started hiring people from bank. Some of the remaining people that used to be here with us felt, is your head correct? What are you doing? These people come here, I have meeting every minute. They're having meeting, drinking tea. We have built this organization. Why not continue the way we are? But these are people who are ready to polish my shoe. And then I started getting people who ask me difficult questions, put me on my toes. One time, when we hired Josiah Samuel from Broadbank as assistant general manager, and he said something, I said, please do what I tell you to do. He wrote a memo and said, please override me. Nobody have asked me to do that among the staff. I say, override. I don't want anybody to challenge me. The thing didn't work out the way I expected it to. Whenever such memo ever comes to my table, if I don't read it that day, I keep it for the following day. It's a process. In a very simple way, to really imbibe, corporate governance is a catalyst that takes you to where you want to be. Whether as an individual or in a small or medium-sized organization, or even in a country as a role. If you are willing to hold yourself accountable and play by the rule, submit to authority, there's no limit to where it can take you. In Nigeria, where it is today, the way the world is looking at us is because even in the government sector that we are not ready yet to allow the rule of corporate governance to rule us and follow that principle. If we do, we will make a quantum leap that the world will be actually amazed at the level of acceleration of growth that will happen in this economy. So, the benefit of it is unquantifiable. It's just that it's a prerequisite you cannot do without it. If you don't understand it, you need to think twice whether you really want to progress in life or not. Because there's no other magic. You need to submit to the rule of corporate governance. It plays an important role that there's no substitute for it. Nothing else will take its place. Because otherwise, what are you doing? You are just there looking for who massage your ego, who is your best friend, favoritism. There's no standard, there's no rule, there's nothing people are looking forward to. There's no reward for merit. There's no clear goal and objective of where anybody wants to do. And that's what we do even as an organization or in a company or even in the government. And that brings us to where we are. But if we are willing to follow that rule, we will change this country under 8 years. I am convinced about it.
I'm sure you will remember that if we go to some religious retreats and the pastor is preaching, some people will say, preach on, preach on, preach on, preach on. And that is what the messages I'm getting, that the gospel is working and some people are being converted. But before we go to phase 2, let me invite the MC. Let this one sink in small before we now go to phase 2. Because I'm sure you remember Mike Ejai has song that people are dancing now. That this one is what they say, elephant, naga, nansoginazo, gwogwongwongwo. So this one, as you are starting this first phase, let's get other people that will join us for this panel. MC, please. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Prof. And it's clearly apparent that there is exciting energy in the room. And to further enrich the discussion following the chat with a very passionate speaker, we're pleased to welcome our esteemed discussants, Mrs. Yemisi Ironloye, Managing Director and CEO of Sultry International Limited, and Mr. Charles Odi, Director General of the Small Medium Enterprises Development Agency of Nigeria, SMEDAN. Their wealth of experience in entrepreneurship and SME development will provide invaluable insights into our conversations even further. So distinguished ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming them to the stage as I once again yield the floor to the moderator. Please let's give them a round of applause.
Thank you very much, the DG of SMEDAN and also the CEO of Sultry, Mrs. Oluyemisi Ironloye. Let me also say that they are not people that will talk much about who they are because their profiles are public knowledge. But let me just say something about Mrs. Yemisi. Last 2 years, I was invited as part of the team that will offer a retreat for the company. And when we went through and saw what she's doing with starch, cassava, in Oyo State, if I am a member of the people who normally give national awards, I think I will give her GCFR. Sincerely speaking, what she has done is phenomenal. It's unbelievable what she's doing and still doing with the community, from starch to other things as the case. But interestingly, she's a very quiet human being. And her story, many Nigerians don't know about it. And I will encourage everybody that when we finish this session, please have a look at Sultry International. What she's doing is most commendable, and the impact she's creating is something else. So thank you for joining us. Mr. Charles, you don't look like to say you are in Nigeria with all this our stress. You're highly welcome, but as the DG of Smedan, I know you are interacting with a lot of SMEs. And we're also being told that SMEs are more or less the engine for Nigerian development in terms of job creation, in terms of revenue generation, in terms of tax, in terms of so many things. And like in every economy, SMEs remain the bedrock or the fulcrum upon which so many other things depend. So you're highly welcome because you're doing a very, very big task. So let me start with you. From your experience, what has it been in managing SMEs in Nigeria, particularly with regards to issue of good governance? Thank you.
Thank you so much. Good morning. Good morning, everyone. Please let me apologize for coming late. I was at the next door for the African Export Conference. Please permit me to stand on already established protocols. Good morning. Okay, so I've been the Director General of the Small and Medium Enterprises Development Agency of Nigeria for the last 11 months. And I can tell you for free that is the most interesting part of my life in my last 36 years of being on earth. After COVID, we lost approximately 3 million small and medium enterprises in Nigeria. And so at our last count, there are about 39,654,384 small businesses. I'm sure you'll be wondering, how do I know these figures? It's the number that I'm tracking on a daily basis. And we've categorized these small businesses from nano, micro, small, and medium. And there's a problem that cuts across all of them, and it's very similar to what Dr. Maduka was saying. We had one time some money in the bank, approximately R1 billion for our small businesses to take advantage of. And the money was in the bank, and the bank I think that the bank started to use the money to trade, because our small businesses were not getting access to the money. And the number one problem that we found out is that our small businesses do not have any kind of corporate governance or any kind of structure. So the biggest problem was formalization. Many of our small businesses actually still operate as small businesses. I don't think that they, first of all, have the 400 million plus to take it to the next level like Dr. Maduka had, but I think that is the capacity development. And answering that question in short, because the capacities have not been developed, they have not been able to unlock access. So even talking about good governance at that level, it is so discombobulating to see that our small businesses actually are not thinking about the next level, but they want the next level. They want the money. But whatever it is that would take them to better structure to get the money has been the biggest challenge. So in my 11 months experience, the biggest challenge we've seen is formalization. Corporate structure, corporate governance has been the biggest issue.
Excellent. Thank you very, very much. That means that your job is well cut out for you in terms of ensuring that before you leave, that all these challenges will have been significantly resolved. So let me turn to Madam Yemisi. From your experience in Sultry, to what extent will you say that good governance has contributed to the commendable success of Sultry International?
Thank you very much. And thank you for inviting me today. It's a great pleasure for me. Sotri International, when conceived in 2005, I wanted to use the business to make a difference. And it was birthed out of passion to move farmers from being smallholder to commercial farmers. And I remember that very day, I was working in Agro, and this farmer brought his goods, and I saw him crying by the Way Bridge. So I went to meet the old man. Then the youngest farmer is about 55. That would be the youngest. That man should be about 60 something. He's dead now, of blessed memory. And I met him, and he said he borrowed the money from Lapo, and that he used 5 days to get here, and that the Way Bridge officer have rejected the crop because they are all bad. And I became like, what do we do now? He said he will die here, because before Lapo would kill him, let him die here, because he doesn't have money to pay them back. Somehow, we found a way to pay him and ask him to pay off gradually. We gave him a rebate. But then I started thinking, this business have no business being here. It should be somewhere else. Why should people be crying every day? Because they've lost their money. So in 3 days, Sotri was birthed in my mind. And I said, if I start my business, it should be different. And that was how Sotri, I was still in Chicago for another 5 years. I was just planning, thinking, what do I want to do different? And what I did different is what has made Sotri to be what it is today. So when I left Chicago, I went straight to that Baba's village. I went after him. And I got small land from him, and I told him, you guys will use the remaining of your land for me. Sustainability. Then, every starch company run only 6 months of the year. When there's rain, there's a lot of cassava, so they produce. When it's dry season, there's no cassava, they shut down. So I said, my business will run all the year round. And the farmers will provide it. So when I relocated to that village, the first thing was sustainable raw material. So I started working with the farmers, giving them raw material input and all of that. We started with 17 farmers. Today we have over 10,000 farmers in structured arrangement. I knew that I had to have structure. So even though I was a one-man riot squad 19 years ago, but then I knew I was going somewhere. So the first thing I did was have an accountant to even keep the books. Because I know that if I don't keep the books, the bank will not give me money. So I left Chicago 2011. By 2012, we already had First Bank gave us our first funding. And that's because there was transparency in everything we're doing. They could track where we started from and where we were. And by 2013, we had the first factory, which is producing food-grade starch. Now, then, the Nestle of this world just buy only in the rainy season. In the dry season, they start to import. Importation was 80%, local content was like 15-20%. We were the one who changed that narrative to say, you will get your cassava starch all the year round. And that was because the farmers were organized to produce for us all the year round. Today, to the glory of God, we have 4 factories, 2 starch factories, 1 cassava flour factory, and the very first sorbitol cassava-based factory in Africa. Sustainability, I knew I won't get there if I don't have a board. So from 2014, we had our first board, chaired by even an ex-ED of a bank. Chief Bolaji, Shegun Bolaji, was our first chair board member. As small as we were, we had a complete 7-member board that sits me down and said, don't do it. And I will not do it. I just tell myself, whatever they tell me is what I do. And when their tenure was over, we had another board chaired by a lady sitting right here in this conference. And I think subjecting ourselves to guidance had helped Sotri to lift higher. Because every decision I want to take, I actually take it to the board. It is argued, I have to ensure that they agree, understand it before it is done. In 2022, I decided I wanted to open up the business. And I decided I was going to get an investor to come in. I also wanted a women-led investor. So we got Alitia IDF to come in. And they brought another perspective to say, oh, SDG goals, you have to go after it. What about sustaining your own power? You are suffering from power. You are suffering for all of these things. And I told myself, we will do it. Today, we have our own power, 1.6 megawatt power from sun, 1.1 megawatt storage facility. So we run day shift with the light, sunlight, and run night shift as blended power. Storage, the storage power in the batteries, which is 1.1 megawatt, combined with PAC. And the problem we've had over years is epileptic power, which makes us run at a loss. We are just working for them. So sustainability and good governance cannot be overemphasized in the growth, how it impacts the growth of SME and the growth of any enterprise as it will. Now, for staff, we started with 2 staff. Today we are about 360 staff and still counting, having different roles, very important role like the CEO, CFO, and all of that. We are not as big as my brother, but we're trying and doing our best, showing the way of the way things can be done. Thank you very much.
Excellent. As I said, she hasn't told you all the story about Sultry. She has just done a brief summary of what they are doing. Sincerely, even though she's not been paying me, but I've been her chief marketer, telling everybody I see about the success of Sultry. And I'm sure that you will grow and grow and grow because you are doing good things. But let me come back to Dr. Maduka. As I said, he didn't want to tell you that since 1993, he now has Charis Medical, Charis Technologies, Charis Beverages, Charis Mobility, Charis Properties, Charis Motors, Charis Motor Assembly, Charis Farms. Should I continue? Just to mention but a few. In addition to operating in several African countries. I'm sure as you're listening, it looks very easy. It sounds, I need to say, maybe the gods more or less cracked his own kernel for him. But I'm sure he must have passed some challenges. So Dr. Maduka, in this your exciting journey, that it seems that all the spirits have been working in your favor. What are the challenges that you've passed? Thank you.
Yeah, quite a number of people in this room who have joined a well-structured organization coming out of school, you will not appreciate what we are talking about, especially starting from ground zero, where there is nothing in place. And of course, when you hear success story like this, it's like we are born Charis. There's nothing like that, okay? Starting from a humble beginning, give you a little bit more insight. But like my sister said, corporate governance is not just about doing business today, but it's about sustainability. Because if you want to know the truth, the greatest art of leadership is not what happened while you are alive. It's what happened after your demise. What happened to, if everything you stood for died when you're dead, then you have not lived effectively. So it's about how do I keep this thing going, that even after I have gone, the whole thing will remain in that way. In structuring a business, this has to be captured in your vision. So when we come up with what we want to do, to build an institution that will be timeless in its relevancy and value, the mission was clear, that will produce excellent product and services to our customer, giving them the highest value for their money, plowing back resources into the society, and giving our staff a sense of fulfillment. And when we do this, we will grow stronger and work stronger into the future. It was tough initially. Like I said, I was one-man ranger, everything. I signed all the checks, I did everything. The first money I went to borrow in bank was African Continental Bank. At Nnewi branch, Mr. Duru was the manager. That time accountant used to stay in a very big chair like this, and other people sit down. The manager, you can never see a manager of a bank. To see a manager of a bank those days is much easier to see a managing director of a bank today. And they told me I have to turn over. What did I understand that? So I took 1,000 naira, went to my store. After 2 hours, I went back to the bank, I paid 350 naira. The following day, I went back and paid 150 naira. I haven't traded with the money. I want to create turnover so that bank will give me money. And bank were collecting some of the money. After 3 months, I look at the money, it remains 750 naira. I put my 2 hands there and I said, hey, is this how they borrow money? And from that time, I resolved that I will grow my business with internal generated revenue. On my honor, we never borrowed money from any bank until we built that building in Adiola, Adeku, and Aki Adeshora. And people say, what is this guy doing? Because by then we already start sponsoring table tennis. They say it's that company that play table tennis. Nobody knew what we are doing. That building, but we are selling parts. Many people also still think that my business today is selling vehicle. No. If any of you today drive a car, it doesn't matter what brand you drive, you are my customer. You don't drive your car 1 year without your money coming to Kosharis. It's even better if you have an accident. The paint, the body filler, everything comes from us. But nobody knew, it doesn't make noise. Nobody knew us with that. So it was like, who is this guy? Where is he coming from? But we are pharmaceutical of automobile. Just like as a human being, you can't live 1 year without visiting, get some analgesics or some painkiller. Your car will not drive well in 1 year without some of your money coming to me. So we keep cars on the road. We are happy when vehicles are running, where there's public holiday and we're moving. How did we get there? We focus. Success goes like wildfire. Once ignite, if you try to quench it, it poof into the other. But businesses are run by the same principle. If you follow the same rule, you can take any business. If you can sell a toothpick and you know how to sell a toothpick very well, you can sell automobile, you can sell everything. It's the same principle of giving people value, giving them opportunity to have a second look over what they are doing. Challenges that I have met, I have clear goal because I started very early. I didn't go to formal school. The best I have been in a four-corner wall you call school is what you call elementary 3. Yes. So I have no form of certificate. So I am an elementary 3 degree holder. But it's not the school you went to that makes you. Because today with my elementary 3 degree, at least I have 5 people with PhD working for me. I mean 5 PhD. And doctor has been pursuing me. I had 4 already. And they want to give me more. I told them, will they call me doctor? This 4 is enough. Let's keep it like that. Don't bring more. Because that's why when I started, I told you, my presentation is not going to be of an intellectual talk, because if you really want somebody to tell you how to run business based on Harvard standard and all of that, you get Pat Otomi, you get, at least Prof just left, he would do a better job than me, all of them. But the difference is that we started from that ground zero. At age of 15, it was clear in my mind where I wanted to be. Because I didn't go to school to learn this, I did everything in a formal way. I have vision. I didn't have them in my head. I wrote them down and I put dates on them. What I want to do by the time I am 18, what I want to do when I'm become 20, 21, 22, 25. And I walk towards all of them, coming back every year, shaking where I have been with it. The first goal I set is to live in 3 bedrooms apartment of my own by 18. And I achieved it by 18. I was living in 3 bedrooms apartment. My senior brother was still living with my mother. But I lived in 3 bedrooms because I have plans where I wanted to go. I want to take a lady to altar as a wife by 20. I beat it by 4 months. On September 23rd, 1978, I wedded Charity. I turned 20 on December 24 that year. So quite a number of some people that are here could be my child, because I've been married for 46 years. But that's the goals I set for myself. I started very early. I wanted to own a car by 23. I beat it by 1 year. By 22, I already bought a car, Volkswagen Blue wagon, Passat car. And I wanted to be a millionaire by 25. I beat it by 1 year. At 24, I made my first $2 million United States dollar, not Naira. The rest are history. But life is about playing by the rule, following clear corporate governance. Without it, I would have been wealthy like very many other, but the institution that is called Kosciadis will not be there. I formed my first board by the time I was 25. One of my friends, Mr. Golda, a Japanese, was a board member. One lady in the United States, Margaret Anaba, was a board member. The late Galba Wushishi was a board member. The late Edmond Ngonade was a board member. But I share the board with my elementary 3 degree. Because I have been trained from learning the secret of running business. They asked Ford, who is an educated man. Ford made a simple statement. Educated man or a woman is somebody that can organize his thought into productivity. So, by that qualification, I'm one of the most educated person among all of you. Because with this education, when people think it doesn't matter that school only where you went, no. I served in 2 public quoted banks in Nigeria. The last was Access Bank. I was the chairman of credit committee for 12 years. And I retired in 2012 because of the central bank policy. The point we are saying is that if you understand this, challenges I met before I get here were enormous. My life has always confronted with challenges. The first challenge is that my father died when I was 4. So I could have thrown in towel. My mother became a single parent, and with that, I have no chance to succeed. The second challenge is that I worked for my uncle, my mother's junior brother. By the age of 14, when I have spent 5.5 years of my life with no salary, my uncle gave me only 200 naira in 1976. That's a biggest challenge, because I can eat goat head with it that evening and blame everybody about what happened in my life. Yes, it's delicacy in our village. I eat it. That's why I tell people, young people, I say, mean business, it all starts from your mind. the way you are thinking. Because you have every right to explain why things has not worked for you, but it has not changed you from being a poor person. So it's not about where you are coming from, but about the difference you want to make in life. So coming from this trend, I had good plans for myself. You will be shocked. I wanted to have a son by 21. I wrote it down. But the son didn't come until 26. By 21, before I bounced back, I actually run bankruptcy. Bankruptcy is when you cannot meet up your obligation, isn't it? Yes, I imported goods and got wrong consignment. So I learned from school of life and know how to do things a little different. But from 25, it was a little bit easy. The house I still live today in my village was a house I built when I was 25 years. I moved in Ikoyi at 40. The point I'm making is that life will throw things at you, but if you have set the correct goals in life and willing to play by the rule, there's no destiny, no goal, no mountain that is insurmountable, no hill that is too extreme. When people see you are ready to do things in a proper way. When I started business, I did a research. One of the things I noticed that one of the most scarce commodity in Nigeria is integrity. A good business person pride in selling scarce commodity. I knew integrity is very scarce. And I learned it from the Japanese. Because a man that has gone to a restaurant with me and take a dinner, his name is Machichita. We are owing people and he couldn't pay. He wrote a note and said, I'm sorry, I disappointed you, and did what the Japanese have been doing before the fundamentalists start committing suicide. He took a big sword and commit what they call harakashi, put it in his stomach and draw it into bag. I introduced a Nigeria to a Japanese, he was owing them. And when the payment time came, the Japanese said, you have to pay. The guy said, I can't kill myself. Exchange rate has gone up. I cannot kill myself. Japan said, please kill yourself because you promised. He thought he was talking to another Japanese. He said, please kill yourself because you promised. So, with that integrity that I learned, no, for a Japanese, he's happy to hear that the roof of your house caved in the next day, but you met a payment obligation unconditionally. There's no excuse, because we read Bible here and read Quran. They don't read any of that. Their Bible is letter of credit. Their shop is business. So all these things we are talking about, they don't understand it. And these are all part of the corporate governance. To know the place of integrity and commitment, that once you made a promise, that promise is unconditionally, you have to keep it. So when I now start getting experts to come into the business and begin to refine some of the things I knew and have been doing in a more crude way, in a very more structured way, it took our company like from grade A to Z. I can appreciate what you are saying about money being available and people are not. There are traders in Aspanda, we give credit 200 million, 300 million. I had a bad experience that when one or two of them died, I couldn't get my money back. I insisted, look, I can't give you credit if your wife is not a signatory to your account. Just put your wife so that she's a signatory. When you pass on, I know who I can carry on. Some of them said, instead of my wife being, take your credit, I don't need anymore. So tell me how far that person can go. It's a reality. So what I would suggest for people like you is to call seminars and get some of these guys for somebody to talk to them, because if your mind doesn't change, nothing changes in your life. It's all about the way you conceive and perceive manner.
Thank you. I think that this session is turning into... Okay, let me not say what I wanted to say, but let me come back to you, Charles. I'm sure you can see that you've already got a brief of what to do, and you already have a facilitator. For it. And once, whether it's a paying or non-paying session, CIoD and myself as the facilitator, as a moderator, we get the brokerage fee. I'm sure you will pay us very handsomely. But let me ask you, what are the key challenges you faced in Smedan? And to what extent do you think that policy reforms and technology can help in addressing the SME challenges in Nigeria, particularly issues of good governance?
Thank you. Some of the issues. So issues in Smedan as a government agency, and issues with the ecosystem. So I'll just take the latter part. I think that technology is the biggest enabler in business today. Before I came into Smedan, what used to happen is government has different government propositions for different people. But what we see is that the gatekeepers actually take the programs and the propositions for themselves and their friends and their well-wishers. Now, with the introduction of technology, the son of a nobody can become somebody without knowing anybody. So a businessman or a small business owner in Okigwe local government in Imo State, for instance, can now take advantage of a government program without even knowing anybody at Smedan, knowing any of our directors, right? And so what we began to do was to leverage technology so much so that it goes to the bottom of the pyramid. But we're not oblivious of the fact that digital transformation has not become a national, or has not driven into the nooks and crannies of Nigeria. So what we try to do in that regard is to leverage business member organizations and associations, and then use them to reach our businesses at the bottom of the pyramid. I'll give you an instance. We have a program called One Local Government, One Product, where we go through the 774 local governments in Nigeria, looking for small businesses that have products that can be used or can be leveraged for local consumption and also for exports. That kind of program, a lot of the beneficiaries of those programs are smallholder farmers. And so many of them, like she can attest to, are not very conversant with technology. So in that case, we make some concessions to using their cooperatives. And then we reach out to the cooperatives to give them some funding. 70% of the funding are zero interest loans, 30% are grants. And then the smallholder farmers use the money for three basic things: for working capital to add to the money that they're using to trade, to get work equipment, to add to buy more equipment, and also to procure farmland or workspaces. And so the success of that program has been very phenomenal, because at this rate, we're not just lending to the farmer one-to-one, we're lending to the cooperative. And so when somebody does not pay in the cooperative, it's hindering the other person from getting financing in the cooperative. And that has been one of our most successful programs at Smedan. So in short, leveraging technology to reach the bottom of the pyramid, but also leveraging our small business owners as clusters and groups. Now in Smedan, what has been the biggest challenge? I don't think, in the civil service, we already have some rules that we need to follow. So coming into an agency that has existed for 21 years, and the very first time that they have a director general that is 35 years old, and you have directors that are 60, 50, have been in civil service for 25 years, and they're just looking at you like, Kinyo Modemo. Yes. You're right. It means like, what does the child want to tell us?
That's right.
One of the biggest things that I did, and I think that we can learn from this, is I started to run, from one of the things I learned from good governance was transparency and leaving no one behind. So first of all, in civil service, already there's federal character. What you do in the north, you have to do in the south. If not, National Assembly will call you. If you have directors, one of them must be from the southwest, south. If you have 2 directors, north or south. If you have 6, it has to be spread across the 6 geopolitical zone. So that alone has given some room for bad governance. Because it means that for someone to be a director, if he's not the most capable person, you must actually adhere to federal character.
That's correct.
So what do? I come in, and what I've begun to do is carry everyone along. First of all, research, learning, and development. So trying to equip the directors, bringing people, and some of the directors here have been very phenomenal, especially people from the Lagos Business School. They've actually volunteered some time and resources to helping to equip some of our directors. So what we did was we equipped everybody, and then we now put everyone on a level playing ground. So for me to actually relate to you, I'm not taking from you that you are from the north or the south or the southwest. I cannot remove you. It's even harder for a camel to pass through the eye of needle than for you to sack a director at that level. So what do? I began to run a merit-based system. Who can do the job as the person that I work with? Sure. And then it now became a thing of you are working with one director over another director. That's another challenge. And there's something called union. When they arise in the civil service, it's a different ball game. You heard about how they closed the gate of some public servants just because they are not bending to their rules. So in doing that, it is a lot of stakeholder engagement. I engage the union, I engage you, and when I talk to you as a director, and you are not doing what it is that I have to let you do, I do it, or I get a way to do it. But I don't leave you at that. I start to also bring you up to par. Because I'm only as weak as my weakest director. Sure. So I had to actually use capacity development, use a lot of initiative to train some of our directors. And so far, so good. I've been able to surmount some of those challenges. And I think that it's a thing that, we can all, I can share a page and we can all take from to basically just making sure that transparency is the order of the day, leaving no one behind, and making sure that everybody understands the vision artists want to achieve as an agency.
Excellent. I'm sure we can see that Smedan, under Charles, is also in line with what is going on in Coast Charis in terms of transparency, integrity, in running both organizations. It means that our session will work very, very well because we are all aligned. Well, let me come back to you, Yemisi. Before I open it up to participants to contribute, I want to ask you from a private sector perspective, what are the key challenges you faced in running Sultry, particularly with the issues of good governance? Thank you.
Thank you very much again. There are several challenges that we faced because we were an agro-processing company and we are located right in the middle of the rural environment. So my challenges will be different from a company that is set up in Lagos. So you'll be looking at challenges that are real time, real hard challenges. The first challenge I faced when I got to Alaide village in Ado Hawaii was even the road to get to my land. There was just no road. So I had to park like half a kilometer away and trek down. Now, we all know what it is like to get government to do infrastructure. So far back then, at 2012, we had to make just a feeder road for us to be able to manage to get to the factory. And that continued until just 2 months ago when the governor of Oyo State helped us to construct a proper road. Now, this road leads not just to my factory, but to about 50 kilometers behind me. So please imagine what the farmers go through to bring their produce to us. Now, between me and those villages is one river. So as I'm talking about the story, I'll be bringing out the challenges, and you can imagine it. Is this river that dries up, okay? And that river will overflow 3 months in a year, or eventually dry up in January. So three months in a year, farmers are locked in cannot cross their produce. They have to now take a longer route, burning about 3 times the fuel they would have burnt if they were just to take, if that river had a bridge. Now, during the dry season, no water. That's the only river, and it would have dried. So what they do is to dig the water around November, December, just before the rain goes, so that the water, so they dig the well by themselves manually, so that the women can come and fetch early in the morning. But alas, before the women get there by 5 o'clock, the cows would have come from wherever to drink that water.
The cows.
The cows, they can come in there 1,000 and they will pollute the water that the women will drink. And I told myself, if I'm going to be sustainable here, I have to first solve this problem of water. So even before we built the very first factory, we had to give them an industrial borehole that was powered, this manual one, so that all the villages behind come to fetch water from them. I would not have gone this far if I didn't first meet their pain point. So I've talked about road, I've talked about water. The farmers were doing just 1 acre. 1 acre. By the time they sell it, I do the calculation myself. This will continue to be poor forever, and I want to build rich farmers. So I took them to the bank and I said, then we have built the first factory. I provide collateral with my factory. Give these 133 farmers. That's by the second year, we'll move from 17 farmers to 133. Give them money. Money is capital, is a major problem in the farming community. An average Nigerian farmer is still struggling. I mean, Nigerian outgrowers, the Nigerian poor farmers, are not supposed to continue to be poor after 3 years. Why should they continue to be poor? So I told myself, I must build rich farmers. In this community, there must be farmers that people come and see, and they're able to tell their story of how they started. So we moved them. And I said, I provide collateral, First Bank provide them with money. So First Bank gave them the money, and I was waiting to see how I will not get 40% rebate for my farmers, because then Anchor Brand scheme was not out. What was out with this agri credit, blah, blah, blah scheme? Yes. Record time of 12 months. My farmers all paid back. And I said, CBN, you must pay my farmers. I can be very stubborn when it comes to the farmers. And they paid. They were, you know what we do policies sometimes in Nigeria, apologies. We do them not knowing, believing that who will take it. Because when they say 40% will give you back, it's only the rich people that were collecting the money, trading and then returning back and collecting their 40%. That was the truth. Which Nigerian farmer was going to now farm. In fact, the bank manager will not listen to him. If he didn't have a radical person who was ready to bang the table and say, is that how you give my farmers, or I shout on the media? Eventually, all the farmers got back their 40% rebates. And that jumped our numbers up. It means that we must put down policies that make funding accessible to farmers. Farmers would never have gotten this funding if I was not willing to provide collateral. Now, do they have collateral? They have their pots, they have their stove, they have their thatch house. And when you see Alade village, when I started, it was all thatch roof with mud houses. Today, they have power, water, road leading to their factories. On 4 occasions, we've taken different numbers to the bank, having to provide them. But then it's a lot of weight, because I now have to put them on my balance sheet. And when they default, I have to pay. Because the bank does not care. They will take their money. So government should put down a policy that makes it easy that even if you want to bear the burden of these farmers because they don't have anything for the bank, maybe it should be 50-50. We use our mouth to say, 40% will give you back. If farmers don't pay, CBN will pay. Me, I did not enjoy it. I didn't experience it. And I don't know anybody who has gotten any rebate from government because any farmer did not pay. So it's a challenge. we should look at how to put down policies that will make poor smallholder farmers to be able to access funding. Except we don't want growth. I was in the US last week, briefly for just 2 days, and I visited a farmer who has just 3 hectares. Let's forget it. It's not only Nigeria that have smallholder farmers, but that 3 hectares is fully mechanized. So he does 4 circles in a year, and he's well protected by the government. Yesterday, I was sitting at a small meeting with some Indian business people, and they said they have smallholder farmers and that they have special funding. In fact, she used the word preferential treatment at the bank, and I asked her how. She said if a farmer comes to the bank and a tailor comes to the bank for the same amount of money, the farmer gets the money first before the tailor. Why? Because they consider that farmer and what he or she does more important. We have to rewrite the story and make farmers the king. Today, Sotri has produced very, very rich farmers who today can send their children to private schools, who today make our farmers averagely do about 5 hectares today, 5 to 10 hectares. And by what we have turned cassava into today, that 5 hectares will give that farmer about 8 million naira, meaning he has left the poverty level. He's not rich, he's also not poor. He can send his children to school. And more female farmers are also in our clique. So with my story, I've been able to bring out all the challenges. There are many, but we can do them. We can look at them, look at the real stories, the real situation, and ask, how did you solve the problem? In my own little way, expand it. So in 2015, I was approached by CBN to say, how did you get the farmers to pay back all their loan and you took 40%? They wrote me a letter and I said, come and sit down. Did you think I did business with it? So when they came, and they were like, Jesus, how? And we told them how we did it. It was kind we gave them. We gave them inputs. I had 3 tractors. I used it for them. The money, we gave them fertilizer. We gave them herbicide. We have field officer who was going to check that these things are done. When it was time to harvest, they provided to me. I produced starch. I supplied Nestle. And then we paid your money. Period. And I believe that's maybe some of the way where our Cobra scheme eventually came out from. But the challenges are there. Are they solvable? Yes, they are solvable. It's difficult because when we now decided we were going to do solve it all, and I knew I was doing business. I thought I was joking before because this one gave me a really black eye. In the middle of it, COVID came. 3 years down the line, I had to be paying loans with factory not running. But we eventually landed it and it is producing. But it took my sweat and my blood, which shouldn't have been. Because if it was in an organized setting, you look at it that, okay, you are doing something new. We have all brushed our mouths this morning. In Africa, whether poor or rich, whether you're using Mimi or Colgate, you will brush your mouth. Even the poorest of the poor, we buy toothpaste in tube, that small tube, and brush their mouth. Now look at how many we are, yet we are importing sorbitol into Nigeria and into Africa. And then somebody get up and say, we can do this from cassava, even though it's been done with maize in other parts of the world. And we landed it through blood and sweat. We should give something like a small grant to say for research, because it's a lot that have gone in there. It could have died and it could have wiped out the existence of sultry. That's the truth. Who would have gone? Because within some period, it was so tough to pay salaries because I had to continue to pay the loans, even when the plants were struggling with the plants. It's a major challenge why factories are not springing up. Because when you think of, if I fail, bank takes everything I have, you back out. If I go halfway, even the one I've done before, I'll be lost, you think twice. Because there's no amount of story you tell. They say, madam, I know, but shareholders fund, you have to pay it. The shareholders fund, you have to pay it right from today to tomorrow. But if we want to solve the issue of industrialization in Nigeria, then let's put down a system where you have a genuine project and they've seen that you've had track record of not running away when the time is tough. Maybe you've done the first business, you are successful with it. But we know that this business, if this one is not yet running, it could kill this one. Then provide something and say, okay, maybe there will not be interest for 5 years. When you start to run later, some little leverage, because it is a challenge why young people are not doing great things. A lot of them have lost all their money because they are trying to play out their ideas and it's not working quickly yet. It's not only Nigeria, sir. Even in the US, in Canada, they use 10 years, 15 years to pursue a project and it eventually gets successful. Out of 10, only 2 succeed. It's the 2 that succeed that we know. The 8 that died, the government goes to make sure the people who did it don't suffer. But in Nigeria, you go to extinction. So it is a major challenge that I think this city should be able to bring out a communique where what happens if you have an idea that is novel? Instead of selling it to the Americans, instead of selling it to the Canadian, I was approached by big boys in my industry from the US to sell my business before I did the Sorbitol. When we did the Sorbitol, we landed it, and this will be my closing. And they approached the company, which I will not mention their name, to say, you guys actually have Sorbitol in Nigeria now. Now, the same Sorbitol that they have to pay down 1 year to get, that made the company to approach us to produce for them. They now told them, we'll give you credit and we'll even give you rebate, and they crashed the price by 40% so that Sorbitol will not sell. Yes, true life story. And then thank God that company said, no, this is an integrity issue. We approached this company. She's been on it for 7 years. Whatever it will take, we will buy. And today, they are going to stop importation next year, and we are the only one that will be supplying them. But then they could have fallen for it. Take the 40% rebate, take the 1 year, whatever, collect Sorbitol produce offer. So the international community really might not want us to do industrialization. I don't want to say they don't want to, so that I'm not crucified. So if we are not having discouragement from that end, we should have policies in Nigeria that helps you to say, don't worry, go on, we'll support you. So at every level, this story, whether if you are going into core industrialization, don't forget, I am looking at processing industries. Whether you are processing milk, sugar, rice, Sorbitol, glucose, high-end products, we need these projects that are very technical oriented. And that is where the money is. And you can't do it overnight. Even if you are going to buy the technology, you will still be needed. Baba Dangote not buy technology. Did he not fall into challenges along the line? That's the same challenge. What he faced is the same challenge other smaller companies that are into processing are facing. It's not peculiar to petroleum alone. So we must look at it in a broader way to say, if we are solving Mr. Dangote's problem by supporting him in this way, please go and support the other manufacturing outfit that way. Otherwise, we will not be able to compete with those that are coming from outside. Those who are coming from outside to set up business, they are bringing dollar in. The dollar is at 0% to them from their country. Because we have inflation, if they bring ordinary $1 million and they change it here now, they have 1.5 billion. They enter the farm and start to buy my cassava. The one I've laid down, I've almost died for the past 20 years. They start offering my farmers bigger money. Me, I go to the bank, they say, madam, 40% interest. I'm competing with 40% with a guy who brought in money with no interest. And his government is protecting him with every support you can think of. Me, I'm still struggling. Follow Mr. Governor, please now, do my road. So we need to protect Nigerian companies. There are companies in Nigeria that are doing great things. And we need to protect them so that 100 years down the line, Sultry will still be here, producing bigger products in the food chain industry, competing with the likes of Cargill, who are like the forefathers in this industry. So I hope I've been able to bring out all the challenges along the line. Thank you.
I'm sure, let me just report what all of them are telling me, that no weapon formed against Sultry, another business in Nigeria Sultry will not fail, and it will never fail. On this note, let me invite questions, one or two questions for our panel members, so that we can enrich this discussion. So we have a question here, we have a question there. Please, if you can take, and there, 3 questions. 3. 1, 2, 3. Oh, if we can take 4. If we can take 4, please, because of time.
Yeah, we need to check our online as well.
It's true. So let's take this first 4, and we'll take it online, and we now round up.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Please be very specific, direct to the question for the
Very
question.
specific now.
Excellent.
Very specific.
Thank you very much.
Maduka, thank you very much for coming and for what you said. And my sister, Yemisi, thank you very much for not disappointing us. My questions to you are, how can we replicate the Madukas of this world? How can we have more of you? And Madam Yemisi, I've been together with you for more than 20 years. And when I was telling my colleagues in planning committee about you, they all looked forward to your coming, and you didn't disappoint us. The Eka you talked about was a customer of the Bank of Industry. That was when I met her more than 20 years ago. That company failed. But she was very magnanimous, she was very decent. She didn't say why the company failed. But I want to believe that she also learned a lot from the challenges of that company. To what extent did that inform your outlook to life in business? That was also a one-man business, and you are part of that process. But eventually you branched out to go your way, and you are where you are today. So how can we replicate you? I know that U.S. government have given you awards. You do a lot of things with Bill and Melinda Gates, the Greenwich University in the UK, UNAB in Abeokuta. I mean, your tentacles are quite extensive. How can we replicate more of you? And I'm happy that the DJ Osmedan is here. Fantastic, and I'm sure he will make very good use of the recommendations that we are getting here today. It's one of the best things that ever happened to the SME sector in Nigeria, and we'll continue praying for him. Thank you very much.
Thank you very, very much. It's a lovely day. Thank you.
Good morning. Good afternoon, all. My name is Gwahide Longe. I work for NASD PLC. It's the OTC Stock Exchange. I think just very simply, this is the partnership you need. This is the kind of exchange you need to be able to support ventures like this. That's what NASD stands for. New companies, new areas, supporting the structure that would actually deepen what you're trying to do. I think we've had this conversation with as a board member who's a member of CIoD, that the risk has to be borne by the capital markets, not just the individual. We are prepared to go with you to the villages that you're going to ensure that this gets done. So I would like to get your contact, and I'll follow up with this, and on Smedan as well. That's how great companies can be built, with crowdfunding and the capital market. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And this side, please, let's go to this side. Oga here and down there. Just straight to the question, please.
Thank you very much, Mr. Moderator. My name is Abayomi Ilola, member of the National Institute, member of the Chartered Institute of Directors. I know some of my worries have been addressed, but there is a question of implementation. Several times I've challenged PEBEC, ease of doing business. I've also challenged former Vice President at our forum in Jos, the ANI forum, that there is no correlation with what is happening to businesses in Nigeria and the new policy initiative as regards PEBEC. And I gave 2 simple examples, and I'm happy Sultry is here. My sister runs an African shop in Dubai. She came to Nigeria to export yams. She bought yam and was going to ship it to Dubai. It took precisely 1 month from the source to the port. Another 1 month from the port to Dubai. Each and every one of us here can imagine what happened. Thank you very much. She went to Ghana and did the same thing. It took 2 weeks from the farm to customs in Dubai. Ease of doing business. Can we address that in practical form? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for the excellent insight from the excellent panel. My name is Femi Ojumu. I'm a lawyer and a strategist. It's a policy recommendation, really, because the IoD is also a policy advocacy institute. And my recommendation is that the IoD should put a policy position paper to government on supporting priority industries like agric. The developed countries do it regularly. I've worked there, I've seen it happen with things like the European Development Fund. So we need something like that in Nigeria to sustain and develop our own. They're not going to do it for us. So we've got to do it organically and get on with it now. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Let's just answer this for. Okay, there's a just for gender sensitivity. She's at the middle. Please, if she can ask. Just straight to the question, please.
Good afternoon. My name is Abiola Adekoya, a partner at Junior Family Office. My question is to Dr. Maduka. I would like to ask you about succession planning. You mentioned that in your conversation as you spoke, and given that a lot of Nigerian businesses have not been able to successfully transition for multi-generations, I want to find out from you what steps you're taking to ensure that your business not just outlives you, but doesn't just become a Nigerian business, but becomes a global brand that Nigerians can actually be proud of. Thank you very much.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Just to recap the questions, my Oga here asked, how can we replicate more of Dr. Maduka's and Sultry, Madam Yemisi? And the gentleman over there said that he has pledged to provide you with all the necessary support from his own organization. And we also have a question in terms of succession planning. And our senior lawyer, ease of doing business from Oga here, and our senior lawyer over there asked that we have to develop a locally Nigerianized fund and policies to support Sultry and other SMEs. But the first question to you, Dr. Maduka, is how do we replicate people like you? You might also answer the other question with regards to succession planning. Thank you.
Okay. I think it's very simple. We need to get our young people to believe that there's opportunity for them in this country. That's number one. The educational system has a lot to do in the ecosystem of corporate governance and sustainability. To begin to teach our young people to believe in their country. There's no time, but if we have time, I will tell you, my first trip to the United States of America was 1979. Everybody did everything to convince me to stay in America. And why? Well, you don't have education. You have free education here. You get a loan to go to school here and all of the things. And at that time, people were already saying this country is useless. And finally, at the airport, a lady asked me, what is your frustration that you want to go back to Nigeria? I told them, I'm in Nigeria. I am a great believer of this country. And that is the reason why, no matter how bad you think things is, I will admit we are going through challenges in the economy, but that optimism that it could be better. To be a true Nigeria, you have to be identified with her shame and glory. Whatever she is what you are. I came back to this country against every advice,
all the people that spoke to me to stay back in America, the only thing they have better than me is 24-hour power and a bottle of milk and orange juice in their refrigerator. But even on that, MEC told you he generates her own power today. You can even go out of natural grid. My wife and I did it for 7 years. We didn't connect with NEPA because we don't want you to give us light when we don't want. We decide when we need light and we have it on our own. So, first is to replicate me, is to have a shift in mindset that this country is useless and everybody is running out of this. When we talk about corporate governance, like I said, if the leaders themselves apply the principle, this country will be revolutionized overnight. And I meant that with every sense of respect, that if we begin to be transparent at the top, fish doesn't spoil from the tail, it spoils from the head. If we do that and it cascades down and people know that even when you have a need to go to court, you can get justice, your case can be properly addressed, it will change a whole lot of things. Give people back faith in the system. But I'm still saying, don't lose hope because things are bad. For everything under the sun, there is a time and there is a season. This country will be one of the progressive nation on the face of the earth if God give us time. We will live to see it. I believe it. Amen. So, that's the only way to replicate people like me, to begin to change the mind of the young people, to make believers of this country. Because whether you like it or not, I have 5 children. 4 of them are American citizens, including my daughter. But I made every one of them do first degree in Nigeria, and I could have sent them anywhere in the world. And that's why they are still in this country. None of them, they are here working. Because I let them know you are in Nigeria. My daughter said, I can't practice medicine in America. I said, get the Nigerian degree first. You can go to America to do second one. And all of them study in India. 2 boys with master's degree, with economics, they already here. You can say, I didn't go to school. That's up to you. That's why I did it. That's why many of you lose your children. Because you send them from junior school. They go there and learn. They don't have friends here. They will never come back. I still go to Idi Alaba Teaching Hospital for medical checkup. I have appointment on the 6th of November at Idi Alaba. And I own a company in Japan, earn salary in Japan. I have insurance in Japan. I have Dubai residency also. But I do my medical checkup. You do that to find what is wrong and be able to solve the problem. Many of these people claim to be Nigeria. They are not Nigerians. They are only here to see what they can get out of this country. When you have to import your toilet paper and everything. So you can be a true Nigerian, and it's not words. You show it by the things you do, how you live your life, how you practice things. So it's not about talking, walking the talk. Your action the manifestation will be the interpretation. When people look at you, they know you are not just saying this thing, but this is how you live. So, with this mindset, it's easy to replicate me. I believe that entrepreneurship is a way to foster the economy. We went into agriculture. 35 years ago, we acquired 3,000 hectares of land. You will not believe such a property is available in Anambra State. During Emeka Omeruwa as a governor of Anambra State, I have certificate of occupancy. By 2015, we break the ground for rice agro chain. I never imported rice in my life. But if I tell you truth today from what she is saying, I will tell you the greatest mistake I made. I would have just behaved like the Indians and other people. Just have a mill. Look for somebody to give me proceed to mill. Because the mill is making profit. It's the farm that keep on killing us. Because there's no government support. No irrigation. I spent 3 billion naira to do 28 kilometers of irrigation from Iju River to bring water into
the farm, to irrigate the farm and have 3 crop seasons in the year. We have had 4 years, different years of flooding overtake the farm. One of them, the former president, came and saw it hover within a helicopter and said they will go, that they declared the Anambra State a disaster. Did they do anything? Nothing. And there's no agri insurance in Nigeria. They only tell us they pay for the input. They pay only for the seed.
All the input that go there. When we burn 33,000 of liters of diesel on a monthly basis just to get all those equipment working. So, farming in Nigeria, if you don't get it right, is the worst place to go. How do you do farming with 35% interest rate? We eventually talking to Bank of Agriculture. They said a bank has to guarantee it. If a bank guarantee it, then the bank want to give you the money now. Why are you looking for money to do it? And the governor of Central Bank has been there. The former governor
Kebbi State.
Kebbi State has been there. 2 ministers of agriculture have been there. When one of them came, after driving in this farm for 2.5 hours, he said, "We have seen enough. We have to go. We've seen farm, but we have seen another one." We have road network 200 kilometers within the farm. You spend 4 hours, you've not get to the end of it. We've suffered so much, no support from government of any nation, because I listened to World Bank that by 2050, this country will be over 500 million people. The greatest danger that we face in future is food. So if we are talking about sustainability, we need to feed our own people. The Chinese industrial revolution came from agricultural revolution. Growing up as a young man, we see Shamawawo with those flowers and all of the field. That's where they started and then took over the whole world. The third world country, including Nigeria, has missed out in the first industrial revolution. Let's not miss in the fourth industrial revolution. Government should not pay lip service to farmers like she was saying. Today we have 25,000 ag growers. We farm rice, we harvest rice, we took them to the mill and milled them and package rice, Koshari's rice. My idea is that Nigeria we are spending $3 billion United States dollar to import rice before we get into that business. And my idea is that I will get 25% of that business. We also attracted venture capital. People like Sahel Capitals put money in our farm. I will be glad to talk to you. Please, let's exchange number once I reach here. I will tell the group managing director of Koshari's farm to talk to you because we need help. You know, it's not easy for an organization to take such a project and no support from government anywhere. God bless you.
Thank you very, very much. Madam Yemisi, how can we replicate people like you? And also a closing talks, please. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And thank you, sir, for the comments. I'll take the 2 questions he asked. He wanted to know what has exactly happened to Eka Agro. I think this would be the first place I'll be mentioning this. I just went silent on it because it was very sensitive for me. But because of learning, and so that we can learn, I'll pick a few, maybe talk with you on some other topic, some of that ones I can't say publicly behind the back door. One of the things was bad location. If industries are not sited correctly, they are likely going to fail. 95% of the time they will fail. For an agro-processing company, it's better that the company move to its raw material and have no infrastructure.
And I've been able to prove it. I knew that raw material was more important than gas and power. So I moved close to raw material and I started with generator. 2 years after, I took a loan, I took power. 30 kilometers away from me. I finished paying the loan in 3 years. I have PACM. Okay, no bad road. I did feeder road. Let pickup just be able to move. But if I did not have raw material, I would have died because there would not have been cash flow. So Ekago was poorly sited. It was on Lagos-Ibadan Expressway, but raw material was coming from far, too far for a perishable raw material. So that was number one. Number two was the fact that it was the first to use cassava to produce glucose. So being a technical product, by the time we produced the glucose, the industries wanted another type of glucose. So let's say we're producing glucose type A. This Nestle wanted glucose type B. Guinness wanted glucose type C. Now, at that point, the bank did not have the patience to say, can you quickly give us some more? Let's just add this equipment so we can produce this. Oh no, that was not forthcoming. So we were selling only the crude glucose to Guinness and Nestle at that time. And the third one was working capital. I think the capital was not enough. So the company was struggling from beginning to that point. I was in Ekago for a spirit was pushing me. Let me say the old man, let me say he was more or less pushing me because I was still there 5-6 years after I incorporated surgery. I just incorporated surgery and had it under my pillow. I was just doing my planning within that 5 years. Nothing was done. It was just there, but the planning was solid. So by the time I was ready to move, I knew the challenges I was going to face. I was ready to face them. I knew what would be my quick wins. I knew I could leverage my quick win to get to where I was going. Okay. The rest, we can talk about it off record. Now, for how do we replicate me? I think that we have a lot of great people in Nigeria that should be replicated. And I think we are not telling the stories enough. Most of the stories we hear are stories when a company fails. Oh, before daybreak, is in all the blogs because it has failed. It makes juicy news. But when a company survives or succeed, nobody talks about it. So the first thing is, let's even identify all successful entrepreneurs at different levels. When I say different level, somebody could be at a level of 2 million. And it's successful. Doing well, making profit. Why don't you get some to learn from that person? And like that, different levels. So for me, I think mentorship is one thing I will want to do. I've started it last year, my first mentorship class. I had over 1,000 people online. In fact, more people from outside Nigeria than Nigeria. Yes, it was an online class. The second session is starting in this November. It's usually 4 weeks. Every Saturday, 2 hours, and very intense. So I think talking more about how did I get here with people? Did I solve or surmount the problem they are also going to face? It's easier for people to replicate when you talk to them. It's also easier for people to replicate you when you show them. So there are quite a number of young people that have come. By the way, we have accommodation in Sultry. We accommodate about 100 people. So we have about 5 rooms of accommodation where some young people can come and do 2 weeks. And by that way, those of them who are lucky actually even stays in my house, that's in my small house in the farm, so they can rub off and we wake up together and I say, this is how I live my life and this is how I've been able to impact. So I think if we can have more people open up a bit, to just have people come into your organization to learn, it's easier to replicate what they can see. And we do that in agriculture. We call it demo plot, where you do a demo When you plow, the farmer goes to plow. When you apply fertilizer, the farmer goes to apply fertilizer. It's easier for them to copy because they are seeing what you are doing. So for replication, for me, it would be that I talk more about what I'm doing with people and I hear their questions, I'm able to answer. I can't answer everybody one by one. There's so many things. But what I have done is put it together and say once a year, 4 weeks, my birthday month, November, everybody, 2 hours a day, Saturday. And the 2 hours, you'll be surprised how intense it is. And people from all over Africa join and they learn, and I'm happy about that. Step 2 is take people in to say, okay, for those of them who do well in the class, who come punctually, about 20 comes to the factory, we accommodate them, and then they're able to learn, and we can help them to start off. 3 is just sharing. Just somebody need land, and I know I have opportunity in the village where I stay to be able to give a 10 hectares here or a 15 hectares here. I've done that at least for nothing less than about 20 people, where I'm able to use my influence to get them started. So I think the only way to replicate is just to show, to talk about it, to show them how you do it, and to give a little, even if it's just that little tip, it just goes a long way. And just dropping a word of encouragement to say, don't worry, I was there and I didn't die, she won't die. It just helps to push the individuals forward. Rounding up statement for me would be, we can make Nigeria great. It can be done. I don't see any big deal in these things that we think we can't do. Smaller countries are doing it.
And it will be done.
And we can be done.
Excellent. Thank you very, very, very much. Anthony Smeda,
thank you.
Your closing statement, but I would want you to touch briefly
on how to ease of doing business in Nigeria.
Thank you so much. I think that we should translate this from a talk shop to a workshop. And if we are going to take anything away from this, from the Chartered Institute of Directors, it is this question: how do we replicate 1 million Cosmos Maduka? And I'm throwing it back to the Chartered Institute of Directors. As Smedam, we're ready to work with you. I was hoping that we can have this conversation. There is something that we have labeled called the OGA program. OGA is Opportunity and Growth Accelerator. Cosmos Maduka became Cosmos Maduka because he served under somebody and then he learned the ropes without going to the 4 walls of an educational system. We have directors here who are about to retire. Please don't go to the grave with the experience that you have. We have approximately 40 million small businesses who need your guidance. I want to thank Mr. Waidi Olagunju, who has started something called the Business Development Service Providers for we as Smedan. Some of our directors can be business development service providers, providing business development services for our small business owners, leveraging from legal to marketing to whatever. We can label it as under the Business Development Service Provider program. The OGA program is a director here just volunteering that will get a small business owner to overshadow you for 12 months. And then you commit that after that small business owner has overshadowed you, you now make some concerted efforts to invest in them to go and start their own business. If we can run this program with the Chartered Institute of Directors, I think that we have achieved something here today. And so I'm throwing it over to this Chartered Institute of Directors. Please let us do this together. We understand that there are some issues, right? And we will deal with the issues as Smedan. Some of our small business owners, we know that capital in Nigeria is very expensive and also very hard. The sustainable way to make sure that we can grow enterprises is if our small businesses have boards, if they are willing to step down from signing the checks and let venture capital come into their businesses, we can see some level of growth and sustainability. We've tried it, we've tested it, and we can see that that is working. And so on that level, we can also take that, we can take on that body to actually advocate and teach them. But again, we need this Institute of Directors to play their part. We're talking about financing in Nigeria. We signed an MOU with Sterling Bank to the tune of 5 billion naira, where our small businesses in Nigeria, 36 states of the FCT, can get single-digit interest loan with zero collateral. It was because we found a director in Sterling Bank that understood. And so I'm turning again to this Chartered Institute. We need directors that understand the small business problems, so that again we can, with ourselves, I call it a FUBU strategy. For us by us, we can solve the problems of Nigeria. We don't need anyone to come in to tell us what the problems are, because we understand the ecosystem and we can provide solutions. Now, speaking about the ease of doing business, His Excellency the Vice President instituted something in December called the MSME Council, the National SME Council. So it means that a small business who has a problem in different states can now get their problems sorted out. And we as Smedan act at the Secretariat. The council does two things. It helps with a one-stop shop. So as a small business owner, you want to get regulation from NEPC, NIPC, you want to register your business, we set up the one-stop shop to help with that kind of regulation and government bottleneck. But also, there's something innovative about this. At the federal level, the Vice President is the chairperson of this council, and at the state level, the different state governors are the chairpersons of this council, and they've all accepted to be the chairpersons. So if a small business has a problem in Nigeria today, you escalate to our business member organization. If it cannot be solved at that level, you escalate to the State Council of SMEs. If it cannot be solved, you take it to the governor of the state. If the governor of the state cannot solve that problem, it comes to the federal council. If we can't solve it at the secretariat, we take it to the vice president. If the vice president cannot solve that problem, he takes it to the president. I usually joke, if the president cannot solve it, you take it to God. But I don't think that there will be any problem that we can't solve with this Council of SMEs. So again, I threw it to this Chartered Institute of Directors, and this is why I came this morning from Abuja. And I think that together, we can sit here all day talking about the problems of Nigeria. They're enormous. From agriculture to fashion, whatever it is, they're enormous. But I think that if we work together, we can start to, because we've started to test some things. We'll launch a strategy for the MSME ecosystem called Grow Nigeria. Grow is G-R-O-W. G stands for guidance, R stands for resources, O stands for opportunities, and W stands for workforce support. This is our theory for change. We believe that with the right guidance, the right resources, the right opportunities, the right workforce support, any nano business can metamorphose to a small business, any small business can change to a medium business, any medium business can change to a large business. But we can't do this grow together. We need to do it together. We can't do it alone. We need to do it together. The Chartered Institute of Directors, the Small and Medium Enterprises Development Agency of Nigeria, and I can tell you that if we gather again in 12 months, we can start to record some progresses. I want to thank you so much for listening, and I also want to throw this back to you. Please let us make sure that we can replicate 1 million Kosom Maduka in the next few years. Thank you so much.
Excellent. Dr. Maduka, I want you to please, the lady that asked about succession plan, she said that you will not live here until you answer the question. But briefly, please.
Young lady, let me just assure you that I am at the last phase of my life. I turned 66 in December 24 this year. And what I've decided to do is to use my life as a fertilizer for the young generation. So see how I can, add values to them, because your life, you live in 4 phases, We are talking about replicating people like me and Yemisi and so many other great achievers in this place. How do you successfully go and keep the business? You need to be intentional. For several years now, I've tried to make myself completely unnecessary in my organization. You have to be intentional about it. One of the greatest difficult for self-made men is to give you their purse, their checkbook. In the last 30 years, I never signed a check in Coscharis. So you can't say we are institutionalized by every standard. So I walk away for months. You don't need me. And I give most of my time with this kind of discussion. When I leave here now, I have another meeting, I'm going for similar things like this. Because life is not your direction. It's about the impact you made, how impactful your life has been. So what I'm trying to do, that if I can't even replicate people like me, is intentionally I am doing that. And last December, I told them in Coscharis I want to quit. They said, no, you can't go. I told my children, I thought I was wasting time. You wanted to take over quickly. Why are you saying I won't go?
I want to really exceed, because there are other things that excite me today. I've made money. It's not about making money. But a lot of people cannot do what we are saying or doing because they don't have clear route map from where they generate their revenue to get to where they are. So they have no story to tell you. So there are people who cannot come and tell you this thing that I'm telling you. Several years ago, I sent money in my wife's account. FBI is set on the money. I went to them and said, you can't take my money. This your act of brigandage cannot work. I can explain to you how I made every kobo that I made. I'm talking on open television. They pay that money, pay interest, and make me sign a paper that I will not take them to court. You need to know what you are doing and your source, because if you don't know, your body is shaking. Once they say dear, you start peeing. From where you are saying. That is the greatest test of my readership. What happened to Kosharis after I am demised? But I can tell you I'm very intentional about it. And there will be the first model, because I looked at the Kennedy Chukwu, Shidebele, electronics, Odutola tire. Once the man, even the whole thing is just done. But we will be the first to change that tire if you haven't seen it before. God bless you.
He's not finished. Please sit down.